Gabrielle Cuccia writes, quote, every CIA officer and staffer, covert and overt, in true name and in alias, received cards with batch numbers uniquely tied to CIA-issued vaccine supplies. It's already dinging in your head, right? That's right. CIA spies were forced to expose their true identities, all in the name of science, of course. And it was, as she also writes, an intel jackpot for adversaries and for allies alike. When Langley finally woke up to the danger, leadership scrambled. Orders went out demanding officers turn in their original cards to be swapped for new ones with new batch numbers designed to blend into civilian records. But the damage was already done. By the time the recall hit, months after initial rollouts, plenty of officers were already deployed. And by then, virtually every country on earth required proof of vaccination to enter. Even worse, many countries required those cards to be uploaded, both on foreign and domestic government sites. We're now joined by Gabby Cuccia. She's a former White House staffer who writes Gabrielle's Substack, where she has broken some really great original stories. Gabby, when I read this Substack, it just made me laugh because it's what I often tell people. I would be really worried, actually, if the CIA was truly the best and the brightest. But cases like this reveal that they're just not. It's a little bit like, in talking about Hollywood again, Spies Like Us with Chevy Chase.
Yeah, Emerald, I appreciate for you having me on it and reading through that Substack, because I think the initial take is when people see things like that, they go, well, this can't be true. And we're definitely entering this world where we need to kind of reshape our scope. And when you say that initial thought in your head, oh, this is too crazy, it can't be true, it really should shift into, it's so crazy, it ought to be true. And how many times do we need to be hearing from whistleblower reports, a report like in my Substack, or various others like the ones that you put on your program and have for years? We're starting to just slap ourselves in the face with the truth, and we're not demanding any accountability from our government bureaucrats. And I say bureaucrats on purpose because a lot of times, again, something like the Central Intelligence Agency, a lot of those individuals historically, like I still am on the camp of a lot of people part of that entity, and say the FBI or greater agencies, that most of those people are joining at young ages because they really do believe in acts of service and love this country so much, no different than those service members that join the Department of Defense. And what happens so quickly is that when you enter into that apparatus, you start to realize that this rank and file of which you relinquish your rights, your ability to critically think, to these bureaucrats that are elected, say Terry, for example, and I'm sure there's other people that are under her scope in that global health services entity that are still physically present there, because you have counterintelligence officers that become desk officers that are not in the field, like these service members who join in from the jump, wanting to risk their lives for the good and sake of their own country. And these people get fired or just get shuffled around. Again, when you talk about Terry and her picture being right up there, I mean, you see that's her being at the podium of the Department of Defense. And so she already had established, that's where her whole track record begins, in a dire sense of, she was at the Department of Defense blurring the lines between whatever was FDA approved and non-FDA approved at that time. It was emergency authorization that needed presidential signature. She established that protocol at the Department of Defense and then trickled on over into the CIA. And and with that whistleblower report in that Substack, you hear from a first account officer in the Directorate of Operations, a field officer under a surveillance entity, completely categorize exactly step for step how this affected operations within the CIA. And as you mentioned, all of those records were required and encouraged. When you talk about the agency and the intelligence games these days, it's no longer what you expect from Hollywood, where you have these aliases, or that these officers have a covert bridge, whether it's land, air, or sea. Those still exist 100%. But nowadays, because of biometrics, because of safe cities, a lot of the same technological advancements that this government utilize, is the same thing is being done to us from other said governments. So when you use any of those clandestine SOP, standard operating procedures, they actually flag more alarms than anything else. It's much easier these days, surprisingly, to blend in with the noise, with the civilians, to do commercial air, to be on a charter, a yacht, maybe, for example, that seems like it's just a normal cruise, but there's CIA officers on board. And that's not for me to blow cover. Again, the agency also works with Hollywood. I know, Emerald, you touch on that all the time. So that's not necessarily a secret. I'm just saying that it's very much true. And you make it a heck of a lot harder to operate in the noise when you make officers upload their COVID cards and show foreign governments. And that's exactly what happened. And there's absolutely no excuse for it. And I can say, from this whistleblower and from a few others as well, I mean, a lot of these officers are still in and still doing operations. And that's the bigger point too, is that people will assume, okay, well, I'm not hearing in the news that so-and-so wasn't captured or whatever. You might not ever hear about this stuff. You might not hear about any of this forever, or maybe 10, 20 years from now, because the long game, a lot of times in Hollywood or just in news, we're waiting for things to be kinetic and automatic. When there's a failure, something bad's going to happen. Something's going to go boom, an explosion, a terrorist attack, whatever it may be, a detainee. But in reality, it's in the best interest for these other governments, whether they're allies or adversaries, and both are operating with and against us at the same time. Everyone has a double mask when it comes to intel. They're not going to show their cards